Snowfall Season 4 is finally back with a double episode, so we're going to be breaking down what we saw from both episodes with Franklin and Leon beefing, to Franklin playing both sides, Skully and Manboy, which just didn't end well for Franklin and his people. So welcome back to MovieBot. Let's talk Snowfall Season 4. So I hope you're all doing great, and it feels good to have Snowfall back on our TV screens. So I'm going to be diving deep into a review and recap of what we saw from episodes 1 and 2, touching on all things, the main key points of the episodes. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you want to see everything Snowfall related over March and April, then remember to smash the subscribe button. And we're going to get to the shootout from the warehouse and everything else. But this episode 1, which kicked off with Franklin, you could just tell that he was struggling from what Melody did to him at the end of season 3, and he's going to take a while to heal. Throughout not just episode 1 but episode 2 as well, you could really see that Franklin, he's struggling, and I spoke about his vulnerability, and this season he really is going to be a bit vulnerable, not just because he's been shot and he's weak at the minute, but because of other factors as well, like beefing with Leon, which I'm going to come to in just a moment as well. But he went to go see Louie at the bar, which is his right hand, and this is the reason why she's his right hand. It was this scene that we saw in the season 4 trailer where she warned Franklin that with more product coming over the border means more competitions, more issues, which is going to result in territory battles, etc. And this is something I mentioned before. Franklin was going to have increased protection with Lerp and Peaches, and Franklin needs it because, as I said before, we saw him struggling, and even later in episode 1 after Leon left the bar, he still needs his cane. And I think it's going to take a while before Franklin gets back to normal, and it may even take a close death for this to happen. But let's talk Franklin and Leon. Leon didn't want to work under Louie after Franklin was out of action, but neither does he want to work under Franklin now, and Leon is still caught up on Kevin's death. Kevin's death wasn't Franklin's fault. It wasn't Gustavo's fault either. Kevin was going to start a war with his actions, and it would have been costly, but Leon still can't see it, and he still won't let it go. And then there's the added element of Franklin demanding that he gave Manboy's territory and leave him be at the end of season 3. But in this scene, Leon didn't actually raise his gun on Franklin because he raised it on Gustavo. Franklin came in between, and I really do hate seeing these two brothers fight like this. It does actually hurt seeing them beefing because right now, Franklin needs Leon, and Leon needs Franklin. They both need each other, and as I said before, it would probably take a death of someone to make them both realize. But let's talk Manboy and Skully, and I really do have to say, I did actually know what was going to play out in the first 2 episodes because I did read an article which completely spoiled it for me, and I knew what Franklin would be playing both sides with Skully and Manboy, and it wasn't going to end well for him. So this honestly didn't shock me because I kind of spoiled it for myself. But what I was intrigued about was how Franklin would deal with the situation. You could see what Skully was about to do. There were clues as he looked at Jesus on the cross, and he was going to get payback on Manboy and his boys. He wanted to string them all up and make an example, and this scene with Bootsy showed Skully and his boys they weren't playing games, and he wanted payback. So when they were having this meet at the beginning of episode 2, you just knew what was going down. These two sides would never call a truce, and this is why I was shocked with Franklin's play because this backfired on him big time. It wasn't his smartest of plays. So let's talk about that warehouse scene because when Skully entered, honestly I have to say Skully is probably one of the most craziest dudes that I've seen on TV. If you think you've seen a crazier dude than Skully, then just let me know in the comment section who it is. But what did he put in his ear? I think it was wet PCP, but he was vibing, he was zoned and bugged out as well. He kicked off the shooting at the warehouse when he started shooting the lights, which then Manboy's guys acted too hastily, but this is where Manboy thought he got his man Skully, only got a shot in his shoulder, and now he's after one man, and that's Franklin Sate. He's going to be hunting him down, and now he's going to need more protection more than ever, and he's going to need Leon as well in my opinion. And this is what I said earlier, Franklin needs Leon and Leon needs Franklin. This shootout also left Peaches getting shot, but luckily the bullet having an exit wound, so he's okay for now. But I do feel a death is coming, or whatever happens to Louie, because we saw her in the season 4 trailer struggling with Jerome over her, and how's Franklin really going to cope once he loses his right hand? But Franklin went to his parents and told them not exactly what happened, but they needed to move and stay safe. But they weren't running anywhere, they weren't scared, and Franklin was holding up at Tanice's place and asked her to use her connections to find out whether Skully was still alive or not. And she came back with the info that Skully was shot, but he ain't dead, but he is real mad. And now the look on Jerome and Louie's face said it all. They knew they had a problem. And Skully wasn't just alive, this crazy dude was using a knife to get the bullet out of his shoulder himself, and he's mad. Franklin knows he's going to be real mad. He told his people to go and get Franklin sane, and now Franklin needs to watch over his shoulder, and in fact so does Manboy because he sure did shoot Skully himself. He saw him go down, but he didn't finish him, and now he thinks he's dead. So he's in for one hell of a surprise when he realizes that Skully is alive, because now Skully has an element of surprise on his side. And after the shootout, Franklin did meet Manboy. He needs to be careful of him. Leon warned him before, and so did Louie. She made a point clear when Franklin said that they needed to pick a side, Manboy or Skully. She said it had to be Skully because he knows his place, but Manboy, he's ambitious, always wanting more territory, and at some point he'll want to come for them too, and that's why Manboy needed to go. But right now Franklin can use Manboy, let him go after Skully himself. Him and his people don't need to go on the offense just yet. He's having more security in the form of Lep's people coming over. Franklin also made the move with Officer Nix and offered his little officer friends 20 grand each to scoop up the boys at Inglewood involved in the St. Pedro shooting, but they realized that Skully and his boys have way too much firepower and there's no way they were getting involved and going in there. But the impact that this war and the drugs is having on the neighborhood is really showing. This season at the beginning I said that Franklin's people and Franklin himself will really realize the impact that the rock, the drug and his business were having on the neighborhood and the people that they love. Franklin's father said just this, and it's going to have a continued effect on his community, and let's just see how Franklin feels about this later on in the season. But let's talk about Melody and this journalist Irene, who in my opinion is a dead woman walking. She needs to go because she's sticking her nose into a story that frankly will get her killed at some point. Now Melody's living with her aunt Bernice, which we saw at the end of episode 1. They spoke about Franklin and her father's death, and we learned that Melody looks like she's cleaned up real quick, and that Franklin didn't snitch on her and say that it was Melody who was the one that shot him, because I was wondering how she would stay out of prison, but Franklin saying it wasn't Melody and he didn't know who shot him, I guess helped her stay out of bars. But I do think Mel will come back at some point. When, how and why we'll have to see later, because we didn't see her in episode 2. But we did however see Irene the journalist again snooping into a business that she'll probably later regret. But let's talk about Gustavo and Teddy, because Teddy has seriously changed from the first moments we met him in season 1 since he started working on helping the government fund this war with the drug money. He's smoking, he's sniffing lines, and I do think Teddy is now at a point where he's so deep into this there is no point of return. But these two were stopped by cops in Tijuana in Mexico because the new man in charge wanted to figure out how much they were actually bringing across the border so they could then set a price of how much they wanted to turn their heads about what they were doing. Gustavo said they'd pay him 10k a week, which was double what they were paying the previous chief. But he just knew how much keys they were transporting and he set the price at 100k. Teddy said that they were only willing to go up to 50k, but Hernan was the one who paid the price, and 100k is the price. This is the price that they're gonna have to pay for them to turn their heads the other way, and I don't think Teddy and Gustavo are gonna take too kindly to this. But that was episodes 1 and 2 in a nutshell, and it was a great start to Snowfall season 4. What's next for Franklin? How's he gonna deal with the whole situation between Skully and Manboy? Skully is gonna come after him at some point. The beef between Leon and Franklin, in my opinion, needs to be squashed as soon as possible because Franklin needs Leon and Leon needs Franklin as well, so I hope they can sort their shit out between them. But let me know your thoughts on the first 2 episodes. I'll be back doing my usual storyline breakdowns with the key characters, diving deeper into each storyline as usually as I do with the Power Universe. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, and of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, remember to smash the subscribe button. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.